Okay, so yes, I'm going to first show you guys how to set up your project so you guys can kind of follow along with what I'm teaching you guys. And then also at the end, it'll be they'll help you with the project demo and you guys could code along there. So for setup, you first launch Xcode, choose create a new Xcode project, and then choose iOS and app. So I'll actually like walk you guys through that right now. So right now I just open Xcode in my downloads, and then I'll click create a new project right here. And then once I do that, it'll prompt me to choose my template. So it automatically does it. So it should be iOS and app. And then once you click next, these are the things that we need to fill out. So you could name it whatever. I'll name it WeSplit 2 because I already have WeSplit, but you guys should just name it WeSplit. And then organization identifier, you could choose whatever you want to put on here, but I just put SwiftSchool. Um, the interface, you want Swift UI, and then the language, we want Swift, and then make sure storage is on none and this box is not clicked. So once you do that, you could click next, and then your project should be created. Oh, it'll ask you to, like, wherever you want to put it. I'll just put in my downloads, and then you could create the project. So yeah, once this loads, we should have these files over here. So yeah, we have the folder for WeSplit 2, WeSplit. It's okay if you don't have all the tests. Those are fine. All we really care about is content view and WeSplit 2 app. So yeah, this is the kind of picture of what it's just a screenshot of what it should look like. So once you do that, it should be fine. And then yeah, so now we're going to talk about the basic structure of a Swift UI app. So on the left, which is your project navigator right here, you should see these four files, the WeSplit app.swift, contentview.swift, assets.xcassets, and a preview content group, which has a preview assets xcassets inside. So does everyone have those files? Yeah, okay. So yeah, and this is also a tip. Sometimes like Xcode doesn't show the project, the file extensions in your project navigator. So you could do this by going to Xcode's preferences, choosing the general tab, and then adjusting the file extensions option. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So I could just go into, oh, sorry, it's loading. I'm going to Xcode right here and then settings. And then, yeah, you could go into general and then file extensions. You could put that into show all instead of hide all. And then it should show your file extensions. Yeah, so now see it says content view and then WeSplit to app. So yeah. And yeah, so now I'm going to go over kind of content view.swift because that is what we are going to be using for this project. So the first line imports Swift UI, it allows you to use the functionality of the Swift UI framework, which is pretty basic. It's like any other coding project. And struct content view colon view creates a new struct called content view and it confirms to the view protocol. So views are just like anything that is on the screen, like buttons, text, like forms, there's like all part of a view. And then the var body colon sum view defines a new computed property called body, and it has a type of sum view. So it could be any view, it could be like yeah, a button, a text, or like a form or anything. Yeah, moving down, we have a vertical stack that shows the text "Hello World" and a globe under it. And then right here, image scale, foreground style, and padding, these are all modifiers, which are regular methods that return a new value that contains the original data and also the extra modifications you asked for. So I see image scale, it's like large, so the globe is large. And then, yeah, there's like a tint on the foreground style, and then there's also padding on the bottom. And yeah, at the very bottom, we have a hashtag preview one, and that shows the preview of your UI design alongside your code. But this won't actually be part of your app because it is just a preview. Yeah, and now let's talk about the canvas. So on the right of your code, you should be able to see a preview content or a canvas that previews the content that you are coding. So if you don't see the canvas in your Xcode window, you could go to the editor menu and select canvas. So I'll show you guys how to do that just in case you don't see this canvas right over here. So if you just go into editor, it should say a canvas right over here. So you could well, I already have a canvas. If I don't see it, then I could click on canvas, then it will show on the right here. Yeah. And yeah. And then a shortcut for you guys is if you do Option Command P, it does the same thing as refreshing. Like it's kind of like a refresh button for the canvas, kind of like Control C in a like VS Code or whatever. Yeah, and now let's talk about a bit more about the kind of components that we have in our app today. So, SwiftUI forms are scrolling lists of static controls like text and images. So you could like add anything. You could add like buttons, you could add text in forms. And yeah, here is some of the syntax to create a form. It's pretty simple. Just have a form and then curly brackets and then whatever you want inside the form. And then there's also sections. So sections allow you to split your form up into visual chunks. So you can have as many sections and as many things as you want. And if you want to split them up into different sections, then it's very easy to do with this section component. So yeah, you just do like a form and then you could add these different sections. And then this is what it will look like on the right with the sections. Yeah, and then now the navigation bar. The navigation bar is just like you could put at the top or the bottom, like wherever you want, and they can have titles or buttons, and it kind of prevents you from scrolling past this safe area right here. So with just the forms, it will let you scroll up past into the dynamic island or the top of the screen. But with the navigation bar, it kind of makes sure that the screen is what you want to display and not it's not like scrolling out of the screen. So yeah, here's some of the syntax for navigation bar. It's called a navigation stack in Swift. So yeah, you could wrap everything into your navigation stack and then it'll allow it to make sure that your content is inside the screen. Yeah, and you can also change the sizing of your navigation bar. So if you do dot navigation bar title display mode inline, then it kind of changes the design of the navigation bar and it makes the text a little bit smaller. So if you look between these two, they look pretty different. Yeah, now I'm going to talk about modifying program state. So SwiftUI views are actually a function of their state. So the way that the user interface looks, like such as the things people see and what they can interact with, are all determined by the state of the program. And like one example is like a person can't tap continue until they enter their name in the field, or they can't sign in until they've entered their username and password. And yeah, so I think for modifying program state, I showed a code and I guess like I know the answer is on the screen, but it looks like it makes sense. So it's declaring a variable called tap count, which is 0, and then in that body it has a button that where you could click on it, it'll increase the tap count. But it's erroring on like the code. You see the error on Xcode. So the reason why is because content view is a struct and structs are immutable. So we cannot change structs or like the values in structs, but in body or in like the button, we're attempting to change tab count, which is part of the struct. So that's why it is erroring. So our solution is a property wrapper. So property wrappers are special attributes that you could place between any of your properties. And for this case, we could use a state, which allows tab count to be changed and not be part of the content view struct. So yeah, so if we make tab count a state, then we set it to 0, and then when we click the button, it will change the state. So tab count will add 1. And to do this, we do have to call self.tabCount instead of just tab count. And with this, our code will compile and then it will look like the visual on the right. So it'll just have a tab count button. And once you click it, it will add to that tab count. And one tip is that state is specifically designed for like simple properties that are stored in one view. So Apple actually recommends us to add private controls to these properties. So instead of just state var tab count equals 0, you should add a private before var. So at state private var tab count equals to 0. And yeah, so another thing is binding state. So if you look on the right over here, you could see that we have a private variable name, which is also a part of a state, which seems correct. And then in the form, we're trying to get the user to enter their name, and then we're trying to save that text into the name variable. But this is erroring. And the reason why is because Swift differentiates between show the value of this property here and show the value of this property here, but be able to write changes back to this property. So in this example right here, name is kind of only the name is only showing show the value of this property here. So it's only able to show the property and not able to write back to name. So yeah, that is what this code is erroring. And the solution is two-way binding. So if we bind the text field so that it shows the value of our property and it also allows changes back to the property, then it won't error. So we mark these two-way bindings by adding a dollar sign before the name. So if we do dollar sign name, then it shows that this is a two-way binding. You could show the text and you could also write back to name. So yeah, once we do that, it'll look like the visual on the right. So if we look at this code down here, we see that in text field, enter your name, the text item is dollar sign name, which means we want to write back to the name variable. But notice on the text, your name is name. It is a normal name variable because we only want to read from name. We do not want to add or change anything to name in the text field or in the text. Yeah, and then another thing we could do is a loop. So we have a loop called for each that is a dedicated view type that you could loop over arrays and ranges and create as many views as you want. So the syntax for a for each loop is shown below. So yeah, it's just for each and then 0 dot dot less than 15. And then you could do number in and then just the text row. And you could also do it in a different way. There's a different way you could write it. So because for each passes in a closure, you could also use a shorthand syntax. So in this one, you don't have to write number in, you could just write dollar sign 0 for the loop. And yeah, another thing we'd use is picker. So for each is really useful with SwiftUI's picker view, which allows you to show various options for users to select from. So right here in this code, you could see that inside the form, we have a picker, and inside the picker, we have a for each loop. Yeah, so we're gonna kind of go through how you could use them together. So in this code, we have a student's list, and this does not need to be a state variable because we're not changing anything. And then we have a selected student, which right now is Harry, and this is a state variable because we do want to change what student we're selecting. And then in the body, we have a picker that is basically just, it allows you to select a student from the list that we put in it. So because we have a for each, it's putting all of these list items into the picker, and then from the picker, you could select one of these list items. And yeah, so inside the picker, the selection is a two-way binding. So selected student because we want to change the selected student from the picker. And then inside the for each loop, we loop over all the students. And then for each student, we create one text view showing the student's name. And this is some new code that we haven't seen yet. So inside the for each, we have an ID that is backslash dot self. And this means we need a unique ID for each item so it could track which view belongs to which data. So if I kind of change the order of the students list, then it would still work with this dot backslash dot self ID. And yeah, so it allows you with an array of strings, the string itself is the unique identifier. So like Harry is like unique, Hermione is unique. Yeah. So like for lists with no duplicates, this would work. But a warning is if you do have duplicate strings, then um the string itself won't be unique and it will cause issues. So make sure if you do use backslash dot self that all the values are different. And yeah, so that was basically it for most of the concepts that we're going to be using in this project. And yeah, if you were following along with changing anything in the code, you could put it back into this kind of code, and then we'll start on the project now. Yes.
Anyone know like what variables we will be using in this application? Hmm. Okay, okay. Wait, hold on. Okay. So, can I minimize this? Okay. So, we're gonna like delete this text hello world real quick. So we have like a clean st slate. So in this app, we're going to use three variables, the total check amount, how many people you want to split it with, and like what tip percentage you want to like add on top of like the check, right? So we're gonna declare three variables, and we want to do it between the content view and the body struct because we don't really want to see the variables. We only want to see like the buttons and the forms and the cool stuff. Okay. So we're gonna make three variables called private variable check amount, and let's set that to $0 for now. And we're gonna make another one, uh, number of people. Let's say you have like two friends, and then let's make another variable, and let's say you're a generous person and you tip 20% on average, right? So one thing that's wrong here is that since we didn't use the tag at state, we can't really change the variable once we've declared it. So we have to add another tag in the beginning called at state so we can change it later as the user inputs. So okay, now we're ready to like code the actual code now. So let's say let's make it pretty and let's all keep all the inputs and the outputs in like a form. So there's a form and oh God. Okay. And let's make a section that lets the user input like how much money they want to compute at the end. So let's make a section and sections and forms are just to like make things pretty and like separated so it's more clear. So in sections, we're going to make a thing called text field, which would allow the user to input like whatever amount they want. All right, so text field, and the text field function calls two arguments. It calls like a string to name it, as well as like what you want to input in, what you want to like input into it. So we only want like numbers, right? You don't want to like say you owe someone hello amount of dollars. So we're going to use the keyword value instead of text. So value, we want to call that hello. Oh, okay. Value, we want to update that into our check variable that we created earlier with that. But remember the two-way binding that Melissa was talking about earlier. We also want to have the dollar sign to show that not only we want to read the value, we also want to make changes to the values. And we also need another argument is called format. And since we're dealing with money here, oh, can I zoom in? Can I do this? Oh, okay, cool. So we want to only care about this value as being like a currency, right? So we use the keyword dot currency. And within the currency, we can have like, let's say somebody's from Mexico and they don't use US dollars. So you want to like update it based on where the user is. Like in Mexico, they will use pesos, and in US, you use USD, right? So we have this code command, and in the code, we'll write local current dot currency question mark dot. I'll explain all these in a minute. This should work. Okay. So local is like a metadata of all the like infos Apple keeps on you, like where you are, what time is it, maybe not how's the weather, but like what time zone you're in. So this calls like where the user's like location is and get their current location and the currency at their location. And the double question mark is saying like if Apple can't find where the user is, there's a fallback, and the fallback is we use USD, US dollars. And yeah, okay. And we can always make this prettier because say we only want this guy to enter in numbers, right? So we don't want people typing like hello or that'll like kind of crash the program. So we'll change the keyboard type. Oh, I already filled it in for me. Keyboard type to dot decimal pad. So the user can only enter in numbers instead of like strings. Okay. And now let's make another section to separate everything. And let's just make a text to reflect on like like if our check amount went through. And we'll do the same thing with the format. Boom, two arguments, what we want to reflect and what format we want to reflect it for. So now you can see if I change this to like $20, it's reflected on the bottom at the same time as I was inputting it. 20.5, I mean $25 adds like the dot zero zero and the dollar sign in front of it. Okay, okay. Um, wait, does anyone have any questions? Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. Oh, so the next thing we want to do, let's just follow the variables. So the next thing we want to do after making our check amount is ask how many people is sharing this tab, right? We'll make it in the same section as the this check amount text field because we're like asking people for infos. So in this is a little different because um, let's say you only want to share your check with like a limited number of people, right? You don't want the user to type in 50 or 100 or 200. So in this, we're going to use a picker and the picker, the picker function takes in two arguments as well, the name of the picker and like where it's going to be reflected. So the name, we'll call it the number of people, and we'll call this, we want it to reflect to the number of people variable. And the keyword we use here is selection, selection colon. Uh, Again, with a double binding, we use dollar sign number of people. Okay. So now it's going to give an error. Oh, we're not. But basically, we're not really telling the computer like how much people is going to be inputted, or we're not giving them like a way to input it. So from this, we can use something called like a for loop or for each in this case. For each, let's say you start from 0 to 100 friends. And for the loop to go from 0 to 100, we want to output it with a text. And in the text, we want to write like people. And in front of it, we'll write the tag, the notation um, backslash parentheses dollar sign 0. Now, this is going to reflect like how many people is being selected and how many people do you want to share your bill with. So if you can see right here, if you click on this, you can see like how many people you're sharing your bill with. And it goes all the way up to 99 if you're super popular. Okay. That's not. Oh, okay. And like earlier, we can always make this prettier. So we're going to add a picker style. This is a modifier um, to make the picker look prettier. And in this, we're going to use something called dot navigation link. So dot picker style parentheses dot navigation link. This is going to actually, you guys will see it in a bit. And in the navigation link, we need to give it a title. And with that, we will use the modifier dot navigation title, and we'll just call it like WeSplit. Okay. And you might run into a error here because in order for you to use a navigation, you need to tell the computer that, hey, I have multiple pages that I want to access. I don't want to just be on this one page. So you need to wrap this whole thing, excluding the body, this whole form, in something called a navigation stack, like that. And wait, where did it end? Hello. Okay, like here. And now it should work, right? You saw it like ungrayified. So now if we click on this, you can scroll all the way down and all the way up. And I think that's prettier. Okay. Um, wait, I have one more. I think I have one more. Sorry. Okay, I have one more is oh yeah. For each loop. Okay. Okay, the for each loop right here. Okay. So this for each is like a keyword that Swift recognizes. And in the for each, we have argument like 0. And then we have dot dot, which is like saying like you're going to. And then this is like less than 100. So that means you're going from 0 to less than 100. You're like looping a variable from 0 to less than 100. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. And the text underneath this backslash is telling like, I mean, sorry, it says like text. Do you get this like text people thing? Okay. Oh, yeah, I got you. The backslash is telling like Swift, this is like not a string. This is not the character that I want to like based on what other thing mean, I want this to change. Right. If I have like just this, it'll just be a normal text. But if I have a backslash, I'm telling Swift like this is not just a text. It's representing something like a variable, right? So the $0 is like reflecting what's up here. So it's like saying for this loop to go from 0 to 99, I want it to display like whatever the loop number is and then people as a text behind it. Okay. Yeah. Well, let's try it. Oh, sorry. It's loading. Oh, yeah. I think it's just it starts at 0 because you input it as a 0. So it's telling like this is the variable I'm using. So if you start at 1, I think it should work. If you start both at 1, oh, forget about that. Sorry. And this is also about like indexing, which I think Kritish is going to talk about more because it sort of doesn't make sense right now. Okay. So wait, what is next? Oh yeah. Okay. I lost it again. Sorry. Okay. So right. So you can't really see it on the Mac right now, but there's an issue that you might face running into like using this app on a phone is that if you type on this, like a decimal pad pulls up. But once you type the number, there's like no dump button. So once you like start typing, there's like no way to get the decimal pad back down, right? So what we want to do is use, okay, we want to, okay, cool. We have another command called, I mean, another modifier called dot toolbar. And sorry, the modifier, okay, so we're going to make a variable. And this is going to not be in state, but it's going to have the tag at focus state. And we'll call it like private variable amount is focused. And it's a Boolean, so we'll just write bool. And what this means is that if a user is like typing something, they're like focused in typing that thing. So it's basically saying like the user is locked in on doing something. So we don't want to distract it. So by using this focus state, we can know like when the decimal pad pops up, which also in turns mean we know when to like add a dumb button to make it go down, right? So we have a dot toolbar, which is like keyboards and like decimal pads and like everything in like and inputting wise. And we can write if amount is focused, meaning if the user is typing something, we add a button that says done. And once this button is clicked, we write amount is focused equals false, right? So once the user clicks the button, the amount focus is false, which like makes the text field like disappears. And I think I have one more thing. Wait, wait, okay. And I think okay. And I will leave the tip percentage to Kritish and he will keep talking about like how to calculate the total at the end.
Okay. So Max left off at, our tip percentages. So currently, we have our number of people and we have our, our final amount, but we need to figure out our tips. So what should we do for that? Well, the first thing that we should do is create a list of what we need for our tip percentages. So let's create a little list here. Let tip percentages equals, and then you guys know the syntax for a list is the square brackets, 10, 15, like 20, 25, and yeah, a zero option. Okay, so we have our tip percentages list. So now we need to have a place where we can actually like input which one we want to click. So in between these two sections, see this section and this section this section corresponds to the like number of people, like that top one, and this one corresponds to the bottom one. So we want that in the middle, our tip one in the middle. Let's create a new section in between that section. And let's name it, give it a name. Let's give it a title. How much do you want to tip? And you can see that updating on the side over here. So how are we going to do that? Well, one way we could select which one we want is by using the same thing we have for a number of people. What is that? That's a picker, right? So let's create a picker over here. And let's call it tip percentage. Okay. And then we want to make our tip percentage actually like select which tip percentage we want up here. So we have our we have our variable tip percentage and we wanted to modify that depending on which percent we select. So let's change our selection. We have a selection tab here. So, okay. And then we can change that selection to the tip percentages variable that we have up there. So now, whenever our picker will change, or whenever we select something new on the picker, it'll change tip percentages, this variable up here. Okay, so let's go into our picker. So now we want to figure out which actual buttons we want in our picker. And the best way to do that is by doing a for each loop along this list. So it'll go through each element and put that as a new option that you can select. So let's do our for each. For each tip percentages, that's our list up here. And oh wait, actually, hang on. I messed up this one. It's actually tip percentage. Um, so and then for each we can do our ID self. Self. Perfect. And here I guess we can just do our like a text thing here. So text with the same we have the $0. That's our indexing. So this is like the $0 that would that goes through each of the things up here in tip percentages. So We do that, and then we can just add a percent on top of that. So the way we do that is just do, oh yeah, it's filling it out for me. Format dot percent. Now, if we look over here, it says failed. Whoa.
Sorry, that toolbar should be above the picker style.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
That work now?
That's not bad. No, actually, no. Look, just delete it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Still failed to build.
Oh.
All right, here we go. So, it still fails to build here. And does anyone know the reason why it doesn't build here? Okay. So, it's for the same reason that Melissa was talking about. It was the double binding error. So remember, we can't do something like this, where we just have like tip percentage here, because this just reads the value of tip percentage. We need to be able to actually modify that value. So how do we do that? We add our dollar sign. Once we add a dollar sign up here, we can see that the tip percentage pops up right here, and we can change our percentage from 10 to 15, all that. Perfect. And then there's always a way to make it prettier. So a really good way to make it look prettier is to do after the picker bracket, or is that the picker bracket? Let me check. Yeah, that's the picker bracket. So after the picker bracket, we can change the picker style, and we can change our style to dot segmented. Dot segmented, and now we see our picker style is very, very nice. It is very segmented. That is what you want to see on our tip on a tip screen that someone shows you. So, okay. So now we have our tip percentages. Now let's try running our thing. Let's try like $100, and let's change our tips. And our final value is not changing. That's still set to our check amount. That's the exact same thing as this. That's what we stored this in. So how are we supposed to change this variable here? Well, we have to actually create a separate function for that. So above the body, let's create another function called final amount. So var final amount. And we'll make this a double because our final money amount is a double, right? Double. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to essentially do all the math that we need for creating our final amount. So math, I know you guys are all math people. Do you guys know what variables we might need for a final amount? Yeah. So we do need the check amount. So the check amount is going to be like the big one. That's going to be what we receive. And we should also so we obviously have our check amount. But then another one that we need is actually people count as well. So let's and we obviously have a number of people here, but I'm going to create a separate variable for it, and let me tell you why. Let people count equals double of number of people plus 2. So why am I putting number of people plus 2 here? Well, if we check our list here, we see that it actually like the index, this is actually a list, a really, really big list. Okay. And as you guys know, lists start from 0, right? So what we actually start from is actually we start from 2. Ooh, wait a minute. Actually, you know what? No. Okay. Well, basically in the indexes, the list starts at 0, but we actually start our number of people list at 2. So we need our people count to actually return what our index list is plus 2. Our first index is going to be 2 rather than 0. So yeah, that's our people count. Now we need to create another variable, let tip count or tip amount. So what would this be? You guys can calculate tips. How much is a tip? At least percentage wise. Well, that would be the check amount, times the tip percentage. Okay. we have the check amount times tip percentage, and we need to make this a double because tip percentage is currently a random variable. Okay, now we can calculate our total amount. So let's create another variable, total amount. And we'll set that equal to the check amount. Oh man, okay. Check amount times the tip percentage, double, sorry, check amount. Total amount is check amount plus tip amount, obviously. Okay, and our final result needs to be the total amount divided by the number of people that we have. So let's do that. Let total per person equals total amount divided by people count. Boom. And we'll just return amount per person. Which is total per person. My bad. Okay. So let's try our thing. Let's go up here to it's refreshing. Okay, let's go up here. I'll set it to 100 and it still doesn't change. Why doesn't that happen? Well, down here in our text, we're still using check amount here. So instead of check amount, we actually have to call the function up here instead. So let's call final amount instead. So I'm gonna copy paste this and paste that there. Okay. And I think I did make one small mistake in the math. Let me I mean if I'll show you guys actually. 100 and we see it's 525. That is way more than we want, right? So what we actually want is to divide this double tip percentage by 100. By 100. And that's because that's because the tip percentage is 10, 15, 20, 25. So we need to put that into 0 0.1, 0 0.15, 0 0.2, etc. So yeah, let's do it now. $100. And we have two people, which oh, did I mess up? Let's see. Let's figure out what happened. Actually, let me change that. See what happens. Yeah. Okay. I guess it was that. That was a small issue. But yeah. So if we actually remove that. So what I just did, I just removed the +2. I think that was causing an issue. I don't in working testing, but but yeah, so now you can see if you put in a number, and we can change our number of people. I'm gonna put 4 people, and we can change our tip. We get $25 for 0% tip. And with the tip change, you can change the amount per person. So that's pretty much it. We've created the core functionality of the app. If you want, you can add on some like extra design features as like, if you want like colors or extra like different types of ways that you can create the pickers. But I'll leave that up to you guys to play around with Swift. I think Swift has plenty of things in its documentation where you guys can change it to look like really good. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions for me and for the rest of the officers here? All right. If not, then thank you all for coming. It was great seeing you all here again, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks for our next one.